just want to take this opportunity to say thanks and have a very happy new year for 2020. I hope things go well for all of us. It's been a big journey taking on, it's sort of a fictional government. We're taking on something that doesn't really exist and yet haunts us like a ghost. It sort of operates in our minds, yet it's very real. And when you get bashed by it, you certainly do feel it. But I'd like to a special thanks to all the people around the world, and as well as America, Australia, England, Germany, Poland, Russia, Canada, New Zealand, and the list really goes on, because the amount of people from different countries is mind-boggling. I've got Ireland here, who's quite a lot of views, Sweden, Netherlands, Norway, South Africa, Germany, Spain, Portugal, Kenya, Denmark. It's a big list of countries that it appears as if people are concerned about what's happening all over the world. And I remember when I first started doing this, I panicked at 100 views. When 100 people saw the videos, I thought, oh, what's going to happen if 100 people in the world know that it's a fraud? What's going to happen? Well, it's gotten a bit bigger than that. But look, I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year, and to show our appreciation from Rowan and I, from your support that you've had with this channel, and even the bad comments that are practical. We've learned things that we didn't know existed from some of the comments that have come in from other people's research and sharing their views, what they've found on the Justinian Deception YouTube channel. I want to acknowledge for the supporters of the Justinian Deception, which is you guys. Thank you very much. And also want to thank YouTube so far, because they haven't shut the channel down. I try to comply with all of the rules of YouTube. We certainly don't attack people directly from this. It's really to do with just the research, the findings, and the documents that are already there. Whereas, these wonderful people like Snowden and Assange and Manning, who have done an extraordinary service to let us know what the internal government is doing, which is very disturbing. And I can only, we can send our love to those people that have put so much and given up so much. I've only spent 3 days at a time in a watch house. Some of these people, such as Assange, is spending locked in a small room. Even after 3 days you go mad. So it's sad what they're doing to him. It's so draconian, it's beyond belief. I find it hard to believe that in our world today nothing has changed from the old British draconian and the old Roman law slave system. It doesn't seem to have changed anything. So I just want to acknowledge YouTube, and also GoPro, because they've saved my arm from a lot of pain. The old Sony cameras that I used to use used to weigh a ton after a while. So GoPro are certainly fantastic, and also all of the equipment that these vlogging manufacturers or supporters are doing. I've got to acknowledge them as well, because they make our life a lot easier. Special thanks to the comments. Well, that's you, both good and bad, because what's been shared even we didn't know some of the stuff. At this point, I want to go on to the future topics that we'll probably be discussing this year. There's a few things that I'd like to look at, or to get into it a little bit deeper, just to extend the research and also supply the evidence of the research. Even though this is an entertainment channel, I wouldn't be game to advertise it in any other way. However, nothing has been taken from any secret documents, and everything is there in the public domain for you to look at for yourself. So it's just vigilance that we have to look at. The first topic I've got here is nationalism, and why Sir Joh Bjelke-Petersen, who was the Premier of Queensland, he I've just got it here too, actually, the times that he was the Premier of Queensland. He was born in 1911, and he was the Premier of Queensland in Australia, a very astute Premier. And because he lived through the Nazi regime of Nazi Germany, and also witnessed, he didn't live in it, but he was alive at that time that it all happened. And he also witnessed the Stalin system, the Pol Pot and the Mao Zedong, these socialist agendas that wound up murdering and just killing millions and millions of people, and also causing damage and destruction across all of Europe. Was destroyed in World War II. It wasn't just Germany. It was England, Germany, France, everything was just demolished. And these big Swiss bankers that sat on the fence lines, they came in and funded it, as if they were happy that all of the citizens of all of these countries fought each other and destroyed each other's countries. So one would wonder who was the fire starter, or who was behind all of these wars. So we'd some of the things that Sir Joh Bjelke-Petersen was afraid of when he was Premier of Queensland, such as traffic stops or roadblocks on public lands, which was a very Nazi Hitler thing, and that's been continued on in the United States today. Whereas the United States government, which is really an offshoot of the CIA, or the CIA involvement in the Nazi regime in Germany, it seems to have just carried on through the United States. And because the companies of Australia, all the states and all the other countries around the Western world are all registered to the District of Columbia and the United States authorities, then this Nazi CIA system, is it still extending into these states that are around the world? And if it is, then we as Australians, you as Germans, as British, as Americans, you should know what's going on too, in order to, well, just be vigilant and be aware of what's going to happen or what's happening. So we'll probably go into nationalism and Sir Joh Bjelke-Petersen. He's passed away now. We're also going to go into citizenship in relation to government's own interpretation, meaning the government itself has got on its own websites its interpretation of what a citizen is and what a national is, what constitutes citizens and nationals, and the difference of them. And it clearly states that to be a national, you must be a non-citizen, also a non-alien. So we'll also go into that citizenship sometime in this new year, 2020. We're also going to look at number 3, foreign administration, and have a closer look and just see what's going on there, because we've got some very good fighters here in Australia. Rod Culleton, who was in Parliament. We have Wayne Glue and Stephen Spears. These people have put up a very good, strong argument in identifying that the government is not really who they are saying they are. But what I wanted to look at is the very words used in the grammatical, like such as Governor General, who they are arguing with, and they're asking the Governor General to stand down. But just by simply looking at the grammatical standing of how the Governor General has written his name is actually impossible. Capital G, Governor, hyphen, capital G on the General, Governor General. It is grammatically completely wrong, which would render that rendering of Governor General to be a complete fiction. In other words, it doesn't exist. So what we have to look at with these people, these fantastic researchers and fighters for justice, is that they have to come to realise that they are fighting absolutely nothing. And it's when they realise that there is no Governor General, there is no government in Australia, that the government in Australia is only a foreign private administration, and it has got nothing to do with the government, and even the proceeds that are coming out of that thing are probably not even going to the government. They're going offshore into offshore bank accounts. And that's comes up even in our Prime Ministers, the last one, Prime Minister Turnbull, and the opposition, Shorten, both holding Cayman Island bank accounts, shipping their money off overseas. We've just got another minister, Minister Dutton, who's taking his pay and also funneling money and contracts into his private business in a process of $5 or $6 million while he's in government. And he is an ex-Queensland police officer, which is Queensland Police, as we've discovered before, that it's a non-entity or a non-organisation. It does not exist in any legal, true form. So we're dealing with these criminals that have usurped their way into Australian politics and into our government. And what they've managed to do is subvert our government or completely eradicate it, throw it out. And so these are the things that we will probably discuss in this year. We have got number 4, banks. Banks are a funny thing. They don't actually lend money. And we'll probably go in. I don't really like talking about banks because things that have happened to me in the past with the bank is the only one that's acknowledged fully. And they uphold the estoppel, which means that they back away, accept the estoppel, and the estoppel also comes with silence. So even though I may win the case, or not even a court case, but if I don't have to pay any mortgages or home mortgages or credit cards or whatever, if they fall over, then that puts it into an estoppel, which is a two-way silence. They just go, well, you don't have to pay anything. But in return, then that spells silence, and I would be breaching a contract if I spoke about some of the things there. So I would be very careful about, I would have to be careful about that, not doing the wrong thing in a legal sense. But there are things that I could generally discuss about what banks, how they're operating. You basically become an account holder of their accounts. And as we have discovered, once you become an account holder, you are a trustee, debtor, a slave. So we will discuss the principles, some of those things as well. The next one is birthright, and that would go in with registration. But I'll explain a little bit about birthright, because there's 2 systems of birthright that they're trying to bring in. The UN is trying to bring a birthright that is gauged on the nationality of the parents. So if a child is born on Australia, but the 2 parents are born on another country, then the UN is trying to say that the person born in Australia, their birthright comes from another country. And of course this is to to give the Aboriginal people of lands some sort of a legal right that cannot actually work. I'll probably go into that deeper. But it also takes the Aboriginal and Islander birthright from them. So this could be a double-edged sword that the UN is trying to usurp over the birthright system. Birthright really comes from Article 126 in Genesis, where God has granted the dominion over land, air, sea, and the thing that creepeth, which is the surname. It's granted that dominion to man through the birthright. And of course, banks and usurping governments, or the snake, or the Vatican, wants that birthright because that's the equitable title, that's the equity. And while it can dish out the legal titles, your acceptance to legal title gives them the legal or lawful right to assume they own the equity, or they can hold the equity. So this will probably also go into why children are taken from you, first of all in the hospital, and then granted back to you under some legal system. But it's something we'll discuss in the year to come. There's also registration. I want to go into this because the meaning of registration is placing your equity upon another person's, or another company, or another man's list of goods. So when you register your car, your automobile, to the government, and if that government is a private company registered somewhere in the District of Columbia, what you're saying is that you're handing your equitable title over to the private foreign company. Therefore, the minute they hold your equity, which is really the birthright, the dominion, then the only way you can hold it back is by accepting the legal title. But if you accept the legal title of your car, then that is the evidence that you've granted the equity to the foreign company that may be holding it. And if your government is not your government and has become some private company from another district, calling itself such as Australia, Commonwealth of Australia, or United States, or Germany, or Britain, or England, whatever it is, if they've called their company these names, written it in all uppercase text, then you may be deceived or fooled into registering your equity with these foreign companies. And once you've done that, they will use the legal title of your home, the legal titles of your cars, of all your things. They will assume that the reason why you hold legal title is that you accepted, you consented to give them your equity. So that's something we'll go into and discuss in the new year as well. And then what happens at childbirth? Well, we just covered those things. So that's just a small rundown of what we want to discuss in the year 2020. I'm going to do my best to get all the evidence, the paperworks, the meanings of the word, such as registration, birthright, citizenship. The thing about citizenship is that we are going to look at what the government itself has deemed or assumed what a citizen is and what a national is. These two separate things, we're going to look at what they say it is, what the Black's Law Dictionary says it is, what the dictionaries say it is. We're not going to make anything up. We're going to use their words and their interpretations on what's happening to us here in this country and in your countries, and us as basically birthright nationals of our country that have been converted into these global citizens. And you've got to remember that citizenship to a corporation has no land. It's got nothing to sue. If you want to sue it, it's going to be almost impossible to sue something that doesn't really exist. And a corporation is basically, it operates on the rules and laws of shipping, of ships. But a land-based corporation doesn't have the ship to hold as security. So when you're dealing with them, you have to know what to get first to make sure that they have got security for you to grant your dominion to them in the first place. Then you've got to make sure that they have something that can make them secure, or that will secure you when you grant your dominion to those private foreign companies. And a lot of us are granting our dominion and our birthright to these, and our equity to these foreign companies without knowing what we are doing. So in this year 2020 we will look at these things for the future. So it gives the Justinian channel a something to look forward to. So I just want to also go back and thank you very much for the support that everyone's given to the Justinian Deception YouTube channel, and also thank you for your input into the comments and your own research into it as well. So we really appreciate that. And the more support I've had from you has stopped the ridiculing of being a nutcase and crazy for finding this stuff, because I went through, I had to have a pretty thick skin there for a while, with everyone calling me names. You know, I'm not out of the woods yet, but it's good to have such a fantastic support from YouTube. And in 2020, I just want to acknowledge and thank all the people that have supported our channel, and hopefully we can bring more interesting entertainment for you in the year to come. So thank you very much, and all the best for the year.